All right, so atmosphere review for the third time, I think, already. What is it? Tell me about the atmosphere.
78% is nitrogen.
Awesome. And
The rest is oxygen.
the majority of the rest, so 21%, and then you've got those trace elements, and those are the ones we're going to focus on because we're talking about the majority of compounds that are in what layer of the atmosphere? Troposphere, because almost everything we're going to talk about in this class takes place in the troposphere. There's only one thing that takes place in the next layer, which is called what? Stratosphere. And what's that? What's there that's important?
No, the ozone.
Ozone. Good. So the troposphere has most of our mass, most of our chemicals. It's where weather occurs. It's where almost everything we talk about in this class takes place. The next layer is stratosphere, and that's where we have our protective layer of ozone, because there's actually ozone in the troposphere. We're going to talk about that too. And then what are the next layers? Meso, which is what?
The
Coldest, and then followed by thermal, which is hottest, and then iono or exo. Awesome. You guys are so smart. So what is air pollution? Review again. The buildup of what? What does that mean? When something is polluted, that means it's what? Chemicals in what kind? At levels that are toxic or unhealthy, right? So large levels. And then there's two main ways that pollution can enter the atmosphere. Naturally, or what else? Us. Good. We put it there. And in an excess, right? And then just a little star tip, whenever something blank pollutants enter the atmosphere. That's not necessary. Burns. Good job. And I would say, yeah, dies, not necessarily because it could be absorbed into the soil instead, right? Some examples of natural sources of air pollution. Volcanic eruptions. Wildfires, dust. This is heavy now, lately. For years now, this is the reason why people go to allergy doctors. That's dust. Of what? What is more specific? No, pollen. Good. So there's two main groups of pollutants. And I don't know why I covered this. The first one is called primary. And this is when pollution enters the atmosphere directly. And it's going to be either natural or human caused, but the actual compound is emitted directly into the atmosphere. And then secondary pollutants basically occurs whenever a primary pollutant mixes with something. That's how you get secondary pollutants. Think of things that we've talked about that go straight into the atmosphere. Carbon dioxide, good. So we're going to say carbon oxides. It's really carbon monoxide more because it'll react with another oxygen to form carbon dioxide. So that's where there's a fine line. Is carbon dioxide a secondary pollutant or a primary pollutant? But it comes out as both, okay? But these are the main primary pollutants, okay? Carbon monoxide, what else? Think of all the cycles. Sulfur oxides. What else? Nitrous oxides. And then this one, which you pretty much don't know, which is volatile organic compounds. And the strange thing is that the other one is right up here, which is called particulate matter. So if I was going to number these, it would be 1, I guess I should pick another color. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So these are the 5 primary pollutants. And then these are the 5 most common ways pollutants are emitted into the atmosphere. They're not necessarily correlated, like carbon monoxide, the reason is this. Nitrous oxide, the reason is this. Even though the colors look like that, it's not like that. These are the 5 main ways pollutants are placed into the atmosphere, and a lot of times, all of these will come just from this, okay? So all of these can come just from this source. Anybody know what it is? Good. Transportation is the biggest contributor to air pollution. What else?
Biomass burning.
Any kind of organic burning, which is not here. Let's just say miscellaneous. Solid waste can go there too because it could kind of decompose in a sense. Industry is another one, and then fuel combustion. Notice how they put it separate from cars, because cars emit pollutants that are not just related to the burning of fossil fuels. So burning of fossil fuels gets its own category. You do not have to know percentages, but you do have to know that the number one contributor to air pollution is transportation, and the second biggest contributor is fossil fuel burning or any kind of fuel combustion, and third is industry. What do we, when we hear the word industry, what do we think of? Factories or manufacturing of goods, okay? So somebody asked to describe the difference between primary and secondary, and if you look at this diagram, and this is what I was talking about before, just the factory alone is contributing to carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, nitrous oxides, and some particulate matter. Particulate matter is particles in the atmosphere, so any kind of, debris. And volcanoes can produce all of these as well. So when I say look at the pie and think of the main contributors, cars will contribute all of these as well. Now, something happens to these. It could be led by solar rays causing a reaction to take place, or just water, and these are your secondary pollutants, or some examples of secondary pollutants. Okay? Yes?
So what a volcano